This is not self-help. This is healing. Body, nervous system, wholeness. Energy medicine, Ayurveda-inspired living, herbal wisdom. Learn, heal, and be together. Wholeness isn't fixing, it's integrating. Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. Understanding begins here. Healing happens here. Wholeness lives within you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. This is our healing circle, and today is special because this is a new month and a new beginning. Remember, we do 4 weeks equals a month. And we completed our first 4 weeks in our first month. And now we are going into our second. So this is month 2, week 1, day 1. And I'm going to remind you of something very important, our foundation, which is become. So first of all, we're talking about become, the framework for integration. And once again, I want to welcome all of you. But before we move into this new month, I want to slow down and come back to the foundation of everything we do here. No trends, no topics, no reaction. This is our framework. This space is built on something called become. BECOME. Healing is not self-improvement. Healing is integration. Healing is becoming whole. And we don't rush wholeness. We build capacity for it. Now, without structure, healing becomes reactive. 1 week trauma, the next week productivity, the next week relationships. There's no nervous system coherence, and that is a great challenge. The body does not learn through randomness. It learns through repetition. Become gives us a map, and the nervous system loves maps. Repetition builds safety. Safety builds trust, and trust builds openness. Remember, support before insight. Last month, we focused on B, the body, because if the body doesn't feel safe, nothing else integrates. Now that safety has been built, this month we move into E, emotions. So remember, B was for body, and we talked a lot about safety and regulation. E this month is for emotions, and we're going to talk about how information moves and why that's so important. C is about connection, which is next month. Healing happens relationally. O is about orientation, where returning to the present moment is crucial. M is for meaning. That's the story we attach. And E is for embodiment, living what we know. We move sequentially for a reason. But for this month, we're going to do a dive into E, emotions. Emotions, my friends, are information, not identity, not weakness, not moral failure. I am anxious versus I am experiencing anxiety is very different. When you say I am anxious, this collapses into identity. When you say I am experiencing anxiety, this allows movement. Emotions, my friends, are states. States move when they are safe to move. Last month, we built safety in the body. Now we allow emotional movement inside that safety. So why do so many women struggle with emotions? I will tell you why. Many of us have been taught be nice, be calm, be agreeable, don't overreact, don't be dramatic. So emotions get suppressed, intellectualized, spiritualized, or explode later. Emotional suppression is not maturity, it is delayed physiology. Let's look at a real life example. A woman feels irritation with her partner. Instead of acknowledging it, she says, I shouldn't feel this way. She overrides it. 2 days later, she snaps. That wasn't irrationality, that was unprocessed emotions looking for an exit. Emotions that are not metabolized become symptoms. We are not labeling, we are understanding patterns. I also will add that unmetabolized emotions, when they become symptoms, over time become illness. Let's look at emotions through the lens of the power of three. In energy medicine, emotions are energetic waves. When energy moves, we feel. When energy gets stuck, we tense. Anger is heat. Grief is heaviness. Fear is scattered movement. In energy medicine or energy healing, we don't shame energy, we guide it through breath, grounding, movement, and other various types of practices. From an Ayurvedic perspective, different constitutions, body constitutions, experience emotions differently. So remember, we all are dominant. Usually, we all have all four body types. Vata, or all three body types, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Most of us are dominant in one of those. Some of us are equal in two, some of us are equal in all. But generally speaking, we all usually are dominant in one. So let's say, for example, let's talk about Vata, which the constitution in Vata is air and space. Emotions are experienced through fear, anxiety, and overwhelm by a Vata dominant person. Let's talk about a Pitta dominant person. Now, Pitta's constitution is fire and water. Emotions are experienced through irritability, frustration, and sharpness. Now, the third body constitution or body type, Kapha, which the constitution of Kapha is earth and water. Kapha dominant people experience emotions through withdrawal, heaviness, and stagnation. Ayurveda teaches emotions must be digested like food. Undigested emotions become residue. Residue sticks in places that eventually cause us trouble. Or one of those problems that it creates is illness, whether it be physical illness, emotional illness, mental illness, or spiritual illness. When we work with herbal wisdom, various herbs and plant-based remedies support the entire system in different ways. Rose, for example, gently opens the heart in grief. Tulsi regulates the stress response. Skullcap calms nervous agitation. And oat straw nourishes depleted nerves. We support the body while processing emotion. You are not separating psychology from physiology. You are integrating. Now let's talk about emotional maturity versus emotional control. Emotional maturity is not never feeling angry, never crying, always staying calm. Emotional maturity is feeling fully, without collapsing into identity, without weaponizing emotion, without abandoning yourself. That, my friends, is integration. Let's do a somatic emotional practice. Stay with me for a few minutes more. and experience this. I want you to just take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. I want you to think for a minute and notice, and I want you to feel more than you think. Notice one emotion present right now. Not the biggest one, just the most available one. Where do you feel it? Think about temperature, pressure, and movement. Now exhale. You do not have to solve your emotion. You have to allow it. Let's do this one more time. Inhale. And as you inhale, notice one emotion present right now. Not the biggest one, but the most available one. Where do you feel it? Temperature, pressure, movement. Now a slow exhale. You do not have to solve your emotion. You have to allow it. Now, my friends, 5 reflection questions and journal questions. If you have not started journaling, please do. Start with one night a week, 10 minutes, or one day. Number 1, what emotion do I judge most quickly in myself? Number 2, do I collapse into emotional identity? Number 3, where did I learn certain emotions were bad? Number 4, what emotion feels hardest to tolerate? And number 5, what would it mean to metabolize emotion instead of suppressing it? Once again, I invite you to journal at least once a week for 10 minutes. Not perfectly, just consistently. Now, my friends, in closing, we are not building perfect women here. We are building regulated, emotionally intelligent, integrated women. And that takes structure. It takes repetition. It takes a safe space. The month we are inside is E, emotions. On YouTube, we explore together in our free healing circle. Inside Patreon, we go deeper. Inside Patreon, you receive weekly masterclasses, deep dives on the monthly letter. Excuse me, I'm sorry. It's been a long week and a long day. You receive weekly masterclasses that do deep dives into our free sessions here. You receive guided emotional integration practices, bi-weekly meditation or regulation sessions, monthly live healing sessions, ongoing personalized support for real-life application. This is not more content, my friends. It is deeper integration. It's a place for us to heal together. If you are ready to build capacity, not urgency, if you want steady, structured support instead of random inspiration, if you want a place where emotions are metabolized safely and intelligently, Patreon is where we build that. This space will always remain generous and accessible. But if you are ready to go deeper, I invite you to join us. The link is in the description and in the first comment. And whether you join or not, we are building something steady here. Peace, love, and light to you all, my friends. I love you all. I will see you inside the circle. This is not self-help. This is healing. Body, nervous system, wholeness. Energy medicine, Ayurveda-inspired living, herbal wisdom. Learn, heal, and be together. Wholeness isn't fixing, it's integrating. Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. Understanding begins here. Healing happens here. Wholeness lives within you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio and our Healing Circle for tonight. It is Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. And for anybody new to me tonight, I'm Dr. Debbie. And tonight, our Healing Circle continues with E in our Become, which is for emotions. Welcome back and welcome to anybody who's new. Before we begin, let's arrive. Let's put our feet on the floor. No crossed legs, no bracing, just resting. Slowly inhale through the nose, the hand movement, and then a longer exhale through the mouth. Again, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Now I want you to notice one sound in the room, not the loudest one, just one. Notice the temperature of the air against your skin. Is it cool? Is it warm or neutral? Notice the weight of your body in the chair. You, my friend, are here. Not yesterday, not in the conversation that upset you, not in the story you've been replaying. Here, right now. Let your shoulders drop 2%. Let your jaw soften 2%. We are not rushing into teaching tonight. We are building capacity. This is not a space to perform, not a space to impress, not a space to do healing correctly. This is a space to widen, to listen, and to stay. You do not have to be emotionally prepared to be here. You just have to be present enough. And presence grows in small increments. So we begin slowly. This is not a space to perform. Again, this is a space to build capacity. Remember last month we were inside the be in become for body. We learned that the body registers safety first. Support comes before insight. You cannot think your way into regulation. We practice listening to physiology without shame. That work matters. Because now we move into E for emotions, and emotions cannot move safely in the body that feels unsafe. Body is the container. Emotion is what moves inside it. We are building sequentially. Tonight, my friends, we will redefine what emotion actually is. Understand why emotions get misread. Separate identity from experience. Learn how suppression turns into symptoms and begin building emotional literacy. We are not diving into trauma processing. We are building a foundation. So let's get right into learning point number 1. Emotion is information, not identity. Most of us were taught to speak about emotion as identity. I'm anxious. I am angry. I am too sensitive. I'm just emotional. That language seems small, but it matters. Because when we say I am, we fuse the emotion with who we are. Identity becomes fixed, but emotions are not fixed. They are states. They rise, they move, they shift, they pass. When we collapse identity with emotion, we accidentally make a temporary experience permanent. This, my friends, creates shame. And shame stops movement. A healthier framework is this: I am experiencing anxiety. I am experiencing anger. I am experiencing sadness. Do you hear the difference? The small shift creates space, and space allows movement. Space allows choice. Space allows regulation. Space allows curiosity. When identity collapses, we react. When space exists, we respond. What emotion is actually telling you is, because it's information about boundaries, something crossed or honored. It tells us about needs, something unmet or fulfilled. It tells us about capacity, something too much or just enough. It tells us about stress, something is either demanding energy or stealing our energy or keeping our energy very balanced. Grief, something lost or changing. It tells us information about desire, something wanting an expression. Emotion is a messenger, and messengers are meant to be listened to, not shamed. If you shoot the messenger, you lose the message. If you fuse with the messenger, you lose perspective. But if you listen closely, you gain clarity. Why does identity feel safer sometimes? Sometimes we prefer identity language because identity feels predictable. I'm just an anxious person. I'm just bad at conflict. I'm just overly emotional. It becomes a script, but scripts can be cages, my friends. When you say, I am anxious, you stop asking questions. When you say, I am experiencing anxiety, you begin asking, what is this telling me? Am I overstimulated? Am I overtired? Is something unresolved? Is my body dysregulated? Is there fear I haven't named? Identity traps, information guides. This, my friends, is empowerment. Emotion shifts from what's wrong with me to what is my system communicating. That shift changes everything. Pause here for a minute and ask yourself, when do I collapse into emotional identity? And what emotion do I most quickly label as just who I am? And if that emotion were information instead, what might it be telling me? Let that sit in your body for a moment. You are not your emotion. You are the one experiencing it. And that distinction builds regulation. Now let's talk about learning point number 2. Emotions were often conditioned as unsafe. Especially women were taught, be calm, be agreeable, don't overreact, don't be dramatic. So emotions became dangerous. If sadness led to dismissal, if anger led to punishment, if fear led to shame, emotions were considered dangerous. The nervous system learned emotion equals disconnection. Think about this. When did I first learn that emotion was unsafe? Learning point number 3. Suppression is delayed physiology. Suppression is not maturity. Suppression is delayed physiology. Not expressed or metabolized, it does not disappear. It reroutes through irritability, withdrawal, chronic tension, digestive issues, fatigue, and resentment. Think about this. What emotion do I tend to suppress most? Unmet emotion becomes symptoms. Symptoms over time reveal illness. Learning point number 4. Emotional waves are meant to move. Emotion is a wave. Waves rise, peak, and fall. But when we resist the rise, the wave builds pressure. That pressure creates flooding or shutdown. Emotional maturity is not control. It is allowing waves without collapsing into them. Think about this. Do I fear the rise of emotion more than the emotion itself? Avoidance amplifies intensity. Learning point number 5. Naming builds regulation. When we name an emotion accurately, the nervous system begins to regulate. Naming creates distance. Distance creates stability. This one simple shift, think about the difference. We don't want to say, I am overwhelmed, but we want to say, I am experiencing overwhelm. That shift widens the container. Ask yourself this: what changes in my body when I name instead of judge? I want you to start one simple practice. When you experience an emotion this week, step 1, I want you to pause. Step 2, say internally, I am experiencing and fill in the blank. So I am experiencing anger. I am experiencing anxiety. I am experiencing sadness. Step number 3, take one slow exhale with your hand on your chest or stomach. So it'll be like that. That's it. No fixing, no analyzing, no storytelling, just naming and breathing. We are building capacity, my friends, not performance. Let's think about this from the lens of our power of 3. In energy medicine, emotion is movement of energy. When energy flows, we feel. When it's blocked, we tense. From an Ayurvedic lens, emotion must be digested like food, and I mentioned this last night. Undigested emotion becomes residue. Different constitutions metabolize emotion differently, and I explained that a little bit last night. In herbal wisdom, the nervous system can be supported while emotion moves. Nervines like lemon balm, tulsi, or rose gently widen emotional tolerance. We mentioned that last night. We do not separate body from emotion. We integrate. Now for your 5 reflection and journal questions tonight. And if you have not started journaling, please take one night a week consistently for 10 minutes and do yourself a favor and start. Number 1, what emotion do I most quickly identify as bad? Number 2, when did I learn certain emotions were unsafe? Number 3, what emotion do I suppress most often? Number 4, what might that emotion actually be informing me about? And number 5, what would it look like to metabolize emotion instead of override it? When you think about these, we're not doing it perfectly, just honestly. Today, my friends, we learned and explored emotion is information, not identity. We learned emotions often feel unsafe because of conditioning. We learned that suppression becomes symptoms manifest into disease. Emotional waves are meant to move, and naming builds regulation. This month, we are building emotional literacy slowly, safely, and sequentially. We are not building perfect women here. We are building regulated, emotionally intelligent, integrated women. On YouTube, we explore together in this free healing circle. Inside Patreon, we go deeper with weekly masterclass deep dives, guided emotional integration practices, bi-weekly meditation and regulation sessions, monthly healing sessions, and ongoing personalized support. If you are ready to go deeper into integration, not urgency, I invite you to join us inside Evolve Global 22's Healing Circle on Patreon. The link is in the description as well as in the first comment. And whether you join or not, we are building something steady here. Peace, love, and light to each and every one of you. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow in the circle. This is not self-help. This is healing. Body, nervous system, wholeness. Energy medicine, Ayurveda-inspired living, herbal wisdom. Learn, heal, and be together. Wholeness isn't fixing, it's integrating. Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. Understanding begins here. Healing happens here. Wholeness lives within you. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio and our Healing Circle. I am so glad you're here tonight. This week, we've been inside E, emotions, and we're moving slowly on purpose. On Monday, we named a foundational truth. Emotion is information. On Tuesday, we explored why emotions feel unsafe, especially when they once cost us connection. And tonight, my friends, we take the next step together. We're talking about something many of us were never taught: how to stay with emotion without flooding and without suppressing. Because most of us learned two extremes: either collapse into emotion or shut it down. But there is a third option, and that's what we're building here. Not intensity, not emotional performance, not emotional control. Capacity. Capacity to feel without losing yourself. Capacity to stay without shutting down. Capacity to let emotion move without letting it define you. We are not rushing this. We are building something steady. And steadiness changes everything. Earlier this week, as I said, we began with a foundational shift. On day one, we talked about emotion as information, not identity, not weakness, not moral failure. Information about boundaries, information about needs, information about capacity. That reframed emotion from something to eliminate into something to understand. Then, on day two, we took it deeper. We explored emotions can feel unsafe, especially when at some point in our lives they cost us connection. If sadness led to dismissal, if anger led to punishment, if fear led to shame, the nervous system learned something. Emotion equals risk. So when emotion rises now, even if the present moment is safe, the body may brace. That's not immaturity, my friends. That's memory. So we have established two truths. Emotion is information, and emotion can feel unsafe. Now we ask a very important question. If emotion is information, and if emotion can feel unsafe, how do we stay with emotion without collapsing into it or without suppressing it? Because most of us learn two survival strategies: collapse or control, flooding or shutting down, but neither of those builds capacity. Tonight, my friends, we explore the third option: staying. Staying with emotion without losing yourself. Staying with emotion without abandoning yourself. This, my friends, is emotional steadiness. And steadiness is built, not demanded. Tonight, we will experience this together. We are not diving into emotional intensity. We are building understanding. Here is what we will explore together: the difference between feeling and flooding. Many people believe that if they start feeling something, they will lose control. But feeling and flooding are not the same. Feeling is the ability to experience emotion while remaining present. Flooding is when emotional intensity exceeds our current capacity. Feeling allows awareness. Flooding overwhelms awareness. Tonight, my friends, we will clarify that distinction so you can recognize when you are feeling and when you are overloaded. That clarity alone reduces shame and is empowering. We will also explore why overwhelm happens. Overwhelm does not mean you are weak. Overwhelm happens when emotions activate old memory, the nervous system moves into threat mode, and intensity rises faster than regulation. We will look at overwhelm not as a personality flaw, but as a capacity issue. And capacity, my friends, can be built. Understanding why overwhelm happens removes self-blame and replaces it with strategy. We will also talk about how titration builds steadiness. Titration means small, measured exposure. Instead of processing 100% of an emotion at once, we allow 5%. We pause. That means you stop the story. You stop replaying the entire situation. You stay with just one piece of the emotion, not the whole wave. Regulation, that means you help your body settle by slowing your breath and orienting to the room. This allows your nervous system to come back toward steadiness. Return, that means if you choose, you gently come back to the emotion again for another small increment, not to solve, not to finish it, just to widen capacity a little more. That builds tolerance, my friends. Tonight, we will explore how emotional steadiness is not created by pushing harder, but by pacing intentionally. Steadiness grows through repetition, not intensity. We will also explore how to pause without abandoning emotion. Many people confuse pausing with suppression, but they are not the same. Suppression says, I'm not allowed to feel this. Pausing says, I will come back to this safely. Pausing keeps connection with the emotion without overwhelming. Tonight, we learn how to stay connected without collapsing and without shutting down. This is not becoming emotionally intense. This is about becoming emotionally steady. And steadiness, my friends, changes everything. So let's get into this. Learning point number 1. Flooding happens when intensity exceeds capacity. Overwhelm is not weakness, it is overload. Flooding happens when the intensity of an emotion rises faster than the nervous system can metabolize it. That's so important. It's not that the emotion is too much. It is that the system does not yet have the capacity to hold it safely. Capacity is the nervous system's ability to stay regulated while emotion moves. When capacity is present, you can feel sadness without shutting down. You can feel anger without exploding. You can feel fear without spiraling. When capacity is exceeded, the system shifts into protection. And protection looks like panic, shutting down, snapping, disassociating, over explaining, going numb, or leaving the room emotionally or physically. The shift is not immaturity, it is activation. When emotions trigger past memory, especially memories linked to disconnection, shame, or threat, the body reacts before the mind can reason. The breath shortens, the chest tightens, the jaw clenches. Thoughts accelerate and vision narrows. This is not failure. It's the nervous system doing what it was designed to do, protect. The system doesn't ask, is this moment actually dangerous? It asks, have I felt this before? If the answer is yes, and the past experiences are unsafe, the body activates. That is flooding. Flooding is not the presence of emotion. Flooding is the nervous system moving into survival mode. And survival mode narrows capacity. This is why two people can experience the same situation very, very differently. One feels sadness and stays steady. Another feels sadness and feels overwhelmed. It's not about character. It's about capacity. Capacity can be widened, but first, flooding must be understood without shame. I want you to ask yourself this question. What does flooding look like for me? Do I become loud? Do I become silent? Do I over-explain? Do I shut down? Do I leave the room emotionally? Not to judge, but to recognize. Because what you can recognize, you can begin to regulate. And what you can regulate, you can widen. Now for learning point number 2. Avoidance amplifies emotion. Avoidance amplifies emotion. Emotion avoidance does not eliminate emotion. It delays it. And delayed emotion builds pressure. When an emotional wave begins to rise, the nervous system has a choice point. Feel it or avoid it. Avoidance can look very subtle. It can look like changing the subject, checking your phone, cleaning, over-explaining, spiritualizing the feeling, telling yourself you shouldn't feel that way, or shutting down internally. Avoidance feels relieving in the short term because the nervous system temporarily reduces activation. But what is not processed is not resolved. Emotion that is not metabolized remains in the system. It lingers as tension, as irritability, as low-grade anxiety, as heaviness, as resentment, as numbness. When we avoid the rise of the wave does not disappear. It gathers force. Think of emotional energy like pressure in a container. If the container does not allow release in small increments, pressure accumulates. The next time something small happens, the reaction feels disproportionate, not because the moment is bigger, but because the pressure was already there. Avoidance amplifies emotion because the nervous system interprets repeated avoidance as confirmation that the emotion is dangerous. And what feels dangerous grows louder. If anger is repeatedly pushed down, the system eventually expresses it in sharper ways. If sadness is repeatedly dismissed, it may return as heaviness or withdrawal. If fear is repeatedly minimized, it may reappear as chronic anxiety. Avoidance trains the nervous system to brace, and bracing narrows capacity. Over time, avoidance can create the illusion that emotions are too much. But often, it is not the emotion that is too much. It is the accumulation. Avoidance interrupts emotional digestion, and what is undigested does not leave. Emotional maturity is not about suppressing the waves. It's about allowing the waves to rise and fall in tolerable increments. When emotion is felt in small doses, it moves. When emotion is avoided, it stores. And stored emotion eventually seeks expression. Think about this. What emotion do I quickly distract from? Not to criticize yourself, but to understand your pattern. Because awareness reduces amplification, and awareness begins widening capacity. Learning point number 3. Titration builds tolerance. Now, you do not process 100% of an emotion at once. You allow just 5%. That may sound small, but small is what builds steadiness. Titration is the principle of measured exposure. It means we approach emotional intensity gradually in increments the nervous system can tolerate. When we try to process everything at once, the entire memory, the entire conflict, the entire grief, the system often moves into overload. And overload reduces capacity. When capacity drops, the body shifts into protection. What does protection look like? It looks like panic, shutdown, irritability, disassociation, overthinking, or emotional exhaustion. So the problem is not the emotion itself. The problem is the pace. Most people try to handle everything at once. They replay the entire conversation. They analyze every detail. They try to solve the whole relationship. They revisit the entire history. The nervous system cannot metabolize that volume in one sitting. It interprets intensity as threat. Titration respects pacing. Instead of replaying the entire conflict, you stay with one sentence that hurt, not the tone, not the past history, not the imagined future consequences. Just one sentence. You allow yourself to feel the impact of that single moment. Then you pause. You allow the system to regulate. Then, if capacity allows, you return. This pacing builds tolerance. Tolerance is not about becoming emotionally tougher. It is about expanding the window in which emotion can move without overwhelming the system. When we titrate, we teach the nervous system something new. This is uncomfortable, but not dangerous. Over time, that learning accumulates. The window widens. What once felt like a 9 begins to feel like a 6. What once caused a shutdown becomes tolerable. This is how emotional steadiness is built, not by forcing intensity, not by avoiding intensity, but by pacing exposure. Titration prevents re-traumatization. It prevents flooding. It builds trust between you and your own system. When you process 5% consistently, you eventually metabolize 100%, but safely. Ask yourself this: where do I try to handle everything all at once? Where do I overwhelm myself in the name of healing? Because sometimes when what feels like commitment is actually intensity without pacing, and pacing is wisdom. Now, my friends, learning point number 4. Regulation and emotion can coexist. Many people believe that regulation means calm and that emotion means loss of control. But regulation does not mean the absence of emotion. Regulation means the nervous system remains stable enough to experience emotion without shifting into survival mode. You can feel sadness and stay regulated. You can feel anger and remain present. You can feel fear and still think clearly. Regulation does not eliminate emotion, it contains it. There is a difference between emotional intensity and nervous system dysregulation. Intensity is the presence of feeling. Dysregulation is when the system moves into fight, flight, freeze, or collapse. When regulation and emotion coexist, something important happens. You stay in your body, you stay in the room, you stay connected to yourself. Your breath may change slightly, but it does not disappear. Your chest may feel tight, but you're not bracing against the world. Tears may come, but you are not spiraling. That, my friends, is capacity. Capacity is not stoicism. Capacity is not emotional control. Capacity is the ability to remain oriented while feeling. For many people, emotion has historically meant one of two things: either collapse into it or shut it down. But there is a middle path: emotion with steadiness, emotion without losing yourself, emotion without abandoning yourself. This is what emotional maturity actually looks like. Not the absence of tears, but tears with steady breath. Not the absence of anger, but anger expressed without violence or self-erasure. Not the absence of fear, but fear acknowledged without panic taking over. When regulation and emotion coexist, the nervous system learns something new. I can feel this, and I am still safe. That learning rewires expectation. It widens the window of tolerance. It builds internal trust, and internal trust is what makes integration possible. Think about this. Have I ever experienced emotion without collapse? Even once? A moment where you felt deeply but stayed present. That moment matters because it provides capacity, and it means that capacity already exists. And what already exists can be expanded. So once again, the question is, have I ever experienced emotion without collapse? Learning point number 5, you are allowed to pause. Many people believe that once emotion begins, they must either fully process it immediately or push it away completely. But there is another option. You are allowed to pause. Pausing is not suppression. Suppression says this emotion is not acceptable. Well, or it says I shouldn't feel this, or I need to get rid of this. Pushing or pausing says this matters and I will return to it when I am steady. Suppression disconnects. Pausing maintains connection. Pausing is pacing. Pausing respects capacity. When emotions rise, especially in real time conversation or conflict, the nervous system can accelerate quickly. Thoughts speed up, breath shortens, tone sharpens, defensiveness rises. Without pacing, that activation can move into flooding or shutdown. Pausing interrupts the escalation. It creates space between feeling and reaction, and that space is where regulation lives. Saying, I need a minute, instead of shutting down completely is an act of emotional maturity. It communicates, I am still here. I am not avoiding this. I am regulating so I can stay. Pausing does not mean walking away forever. It means slowing the nervous system so the emotion can be metabolized safely. Pausing protects relationships. It protects your nervous system. It protects the integrity of the conversation. For many people, pausing feels uncomfortable because it disrupts urgency. For many people, pausing feels, It disrupts urgency, but urgency is often activation, and activation is not clarity. Pausing builds clarity. When you pause, you teach your nervous system something new. I do not have to react immediately to stay safe. This, my friends, this learning widens tolerance. So let's talk about our power of 3. Remember, energy medicine slows the wave. Ayurveda-inspired living grounds rhythms, and herbal wisdom is a support and steadiness while processing happens. That's why it's so important to have certain herbal plant-based oils and remedies that you use. Consistency, it builds up within your body over time. Pausing is not weakness, it is self-governance. It is the moment where you choose regulation over reaction, and regulation is what makes emotional maturity possible. This week, we have said emotion is information. Emotion can feel unsafe. Flooding is overload. Avoidance amplifies. Titration builds tolerance. Pausing is where all of that integrates. It is the hinge. Without pause, we collapse or suppress. With pause, we widen and widen, and widening is capacity. Now, my friends, as always, our 5 journal reflection questions. Number 1, what does flooding feel like in my body? Number 2, what emotions do I avoid most? Number 3, what can I practice, or where can I practice 5% tolerance? Number 4, what helps me regulate? And then number 5, what would steadiness look like? Tonight, my friends, we brought clarity to emotional steadiness. Flooding is overload, not failure. When emotions rise faster than your current capacity, the nervous system moves into protection. That shift is not immaturity. It is intensity exceeding tolerance. Understanding that removes shame and replaces it with compassion. Avoidance amplifies. When we push emotion away, it does not disappear. It builds pressure. What is not metabolized accumulates. Avoidance may feel relieving in the moment, but over time, it increases intensity. Suppression is delayed physiology. Titration builds tolerance. You do not process everything at once. You allow small, measured exposure, 5% at a time. When you pace emotional contact instead of forcing intensity, you teach your nervous system that discomfort is not danger. That learning widens the window of tolerance. Regulation and emotion can coexist. Calm is not the absence of feeling. Regulation is the ability to feel without shifting into survival mode. You can experience sadness with steady breath. You can experience anger without losing presence. That coexistence is capacity. Pausing is pacing. A pause is not suppression. A pause is self-governance. It is the space between emotion and reaction. It protects connection. It protects the nervous system. It keeps you engaged without collapsing or exploding. When we put all this together, we see the pattern. Emotion is not the problem. Capacity is the variable, and capacity is built slowly through awareness, pacing, and repetition. We are not becoming emotionally intense. We are becoming emotionally steady. And steadiness, my friends, changes everything. We are building emotional steadiness here, not emotional intensity, not emotional performance, not emotional perfection. Steadiness, the kind that allows you to feel without collapsing, the kind that allows you to stay without shutting down, the kind that widens capacity instead of forcing exposure. On YouTube, we build the foundation. We introduce the concepts. We name the patterns. We normalize the nervous system. Inside Patreon, my friends, we deepen integration. We slow it down. We apply it to real life. We build capacity through repetition. We move from understanding to embodiment. If you are ready to widen your emotional capacity safely, not urgently, not dramatically, but steadily, I invite you to join Evolve Global 22's Healing Circle on Patreon. I am here to support you. That's where we metabolize what we teach here. And whether you join or not, we are building something steady. Peace, love, and light, my friends. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow in the circle. This is not self-help. This is healing. Body, nervous system, wholeness. Energy medicine, Ayurveda-inspired living, herbal wisdom. Learn, heal, and be together. Wholeness isn't fixing, it's integrating. Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. Understanding begins here. Healing happens here. Wholeness lives within you. Hello, everybody. It is Thursday, February 19th. Welcome to Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio, our healing circle. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Let's get into this tonight. Remember, this week we have been talking about emotions, and tonight we're talking about emotional maturity versus emotional avoidance. Again, welcome back to the Healing Circle. This week, we have been building emotional literacy slowly, not intensely, not for exposure. We are going for capacity. Tonight, we move into something many people misunderstand: the difference between emotional maturity and emotional avoidance, because they can both look similar on the outside, but internally, they are very, very different. Remember, on Monday, we talked about emotion is information. On Tuesday, we explored emotions can feel unsafe when they once cost us connection. And on Wednesday, we clarified flooding is overload. Titration builds tolerance, and regulation and emotion can coexist. Now we ask, if I can stay with emotion, how do I express it in a mature way instead of suppressing it or exploding with it? That, my friends, is tonight's work. So tonight we will distinguish clearly between suppression, explosion, and mature expression. We will explore why emotional control is not the same as emotional maturity. And we will examine how boundaries, regulation, and pacing create emotional integrity. Let's get right into this with learning point number 1. Emotional control is not maturity. Many people confuse emotional control with maturity. Control looks calm. Control looks composed. Control looks put together. But control can be rigid. Control can be fear-based. Control can be self-silencing. Maturity is the integration of emotion. Control says, I will not let anyone see this. Maturity says, I can feel this without losing myself. Think about this, my friends. Where have I equated calmness with health? Learning point number 2. Suppression delays physiology. Suppression feels responsible in the moment. I'll deal with it later. It's not a big deal. I shouldn't feel this way. But suppressed emotion does not disappear. It moves into the body, into tension, irritability, distance, and fatigue. Suppression delays physiology. What you do not metabolize now, your body will process later. Ask yourself this: what emotion do I habitually minimize? Learning point number 3: expression requires regulation. Explosion is not honesty. Explosion is dysregulation. Honest expression requires steadiness. You can say, I felt hurt when that happened. You can say, I felt hurt. I'm sorry. Long day. Explosion is dysregulation, and honest expression requires steadiness. You can say, I felt hurt when that happened, without attacking, without shaming, and without collapsing. Expression requires awareness, regulation, clarity, and timing. If the nervous system is activated, expression becomes reaction. Regulation creates space for articulation. Ask yourself this: do I express emotion from regulation or from activation? Learning point number 4: boundaries clarify emotion. Emotion often signals a boundary. Anger may signal violation. Sadness may signal loss. Resentment may signal overextension. When boundaries are unclear, emotion becomes chronic. When boundaries are clarified, emotion becomes directional. Boundaries are not aggression, they are clarity. Think about this. Ask yourself, is there an emotion in my life now asking for a boundary? Learning point number 5: mature emotion builds connection. Let me say that one again. Mature emotion builds connection, my friends. Avoidance disconnects. Explosion disconnects. Mature expression builds trust. When you say, I felt overwhelmed, I felt hurt, I need a moment, you remain connected to yourself and others. Mature emotion does not demand, it communicates. It does not attack, it reveals. It does not collapse, it stays. Ask yourself this: where could mature expression strengthen connection this week? Now let's talk about how this looks through the lens of the power of 3. In energy medicine, emotion suppressed contracts energy. Mature expression allows energy to move without fragmentation. In Ayurveda, emotion must be digested. Undigested emotion creates internal residue. Balanced expression supports equilibrium. And in herbal wisdom, gentle nervous system support from various herbal medicines or herbal remedies widens steadiness so expression can remain regulated. We integrate body, energy, and psyche. Now for your 5 reflection journal questions tonight. Number 1, where do I confuse control with maturity? Number 2, what emotion do I suppress most often? Number 3, when I express emotion, do I tend toward explosion or shutdown? Number 4, what boundary might be current emotion by signaling? Number 5, what would mature expressions sound like in my life right now? Journal for just 5 minutes, one day a week to start. Not perfectly, but honestly. Tonight, we clarified emotional control is not maturity. Suppression delays physiology. Explosion is dysregulation. Expression requires regulation. Boundaries clarify emotion. Mature emotions build connection. Maturity is not about being calm all the time. It's about remaining connected while emotion moves. It is about speaking without attacking, pausing without disappearing, feeling without collapsing. This, my friends, is integration. We are not building emotionally impressive women here. We are building emotionally integrated women. On YouTube, we build the foundation. Inside Patreon, we deepen integration through weekly masterclasses, guided emotional practices, bi-weekly meditation sessions, monthly healing sessions, and ongoing personalized support. If you are ready to move from understanding emotion to embodying steadiness, I invite you to join Evolve Global 22's Healing Circle on Patreon. The link is in the description and in the first comment. And whether you join or not, we are building something steady here. Peace, love, and light. I love you all. I will see you tomorrow in the circle. This is not self-help. This is healing. Body, nervous system, wholeness. Energy medicine, Ayurveda-inspired living, herbal wisdom. Learn, heal, and be together. Wholeness isn't fixing, it's integrating. Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. Understanding begins here. Healing happens here. Wholeness lives within you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio, our healing circle. It is Friday, February 20th. This is the end of the first week in month 2, where we have been focusing on the E in Become. The E is for emotions. Once again, welcome back to the Healing Circle. Tonight, we close week 1 inside E, emotions. We've been building emotional literacy slowly, not dramatically. We talked about emotion as information. We've talked about why emotion can feel unsafe. We've talked about staying with emotion without flooding. We've clarified emotional maturity versus avoidance. And tonight, my friends, we bring it home. What does it look like to use emotion in a way that creates repair? Because healing is not just internal. Healing shows up in relationships, relationships with ourselves, others, the universe as a whole, and most importantly, the one creator of all that is. And one of the clearest signs of emotional integration is this: you can return. So let's just review this week a little bit. We learned emotion is information, not identity. We learned emotion can feel unsafe when they once cost us connection. Flooding is overload, not failure. Avoidance amplifies emotion. Capacity is built through pacing, and mature expression requires regulation and boundaries. Now we take the next step, because even with all the insight in the world, relationships don't change from insight alone. They change when we practice. When we practice expression, repair, return, willingness, emotional truth spoken gently. Tonight is about integration, not just knowing, but actually living it. You will experience in this healing circle why emotional safety is the foundation of repair, why repair is a skill, not a personality trait, why imperfect return is often more healing than silence, how willingness builds safety over time, how expression strengthens emotional capacity and connection. We are not aiming to perfect communication. We are building the ability to return. So let's get right into this, my friends. Learning point number 1. Emotion does not require perfection to express. Many people avoid expression because they think they must express perfectly. They wait until they are calm enough, clear enough, articulate enough, untriggered enough. But healing does not require perfect language. It requires honest presence. Most of us delay expression because we fear saying the wrong thing, being misunderstood, being rejected, becoming too much, or making it worse. So we stay silent. But silence can become distance. Not because silence is wrong, but because unspoken emotional truth accumulates. Tonight's reminder, you don't have to express perfectly. You have to express honestly with regulation and care. Think about this. Ask yourself this question. Where am I waiting for perfect clarity before I speak? Learning point number 2, repair builds trust. Trust is not built by never making mistakes. Trust is built by return. Repair is what tells the nervous system, I am safe with you even when things go wrong. Repair says, I still care, I'm still here, I'm willing to own my part, I'm willing to reconnect. Many people think that repair is optional. Without repair, my friends, the nervous system keeps a ledger. Something happened and it never got resolved. The ledger becomes tension, avoidance becomes pattern, repair interrupts that. Ask yourself this question. Do I tend to avoid repair, rush repair, or over-explain repair? Learning point number 3, imperfect return is healing. I'm going to say that again. Imperfect return is healing. Here is one of the most important truths in emotional integration. Imperfect return is more healing than perfect silence, because silence feels safe in the moment, but return builds resilience. Return builds closeness. Return teaches the nervous system we can rupture and still reconnect. Imperfect return might sound like, I didn't handle that well. I'm sorry I snapped. I'm not ready to talk, but I want you to know I care. I want to try again. Return does not need to be dramatic. It needs to be real, my friends. Ask yourself this question. Where have I stayed silent because I couldn't return perfectly? Learning point number 4. Willingness builds safety. Willingness is different from readiness. Readiness is emotional confidence. Willingness is the choice to return even when you're not perfect. Willingness says, I may be uncomfortable, but I am not leaving. And willingness builds safety over time because the nervous system begins to learn this person doesn't disappear when emotion gets real. This is how relational safety is built, not by never rupturing, but by returning consistently. Reflection, let's talk about this. Ask yourself this. In my relationships, do I equate discomfort with danger? Learning point number 5, expression strengthens capacity. Every time you express emotional truth with steadiness, you widen your capacity. You teach your nervous system, I can speak and stay safe. Expression is not just communication. It is integration, because unexpressed emotion stays in the system. Expressed emotion moves through the system. And when emotion moves safely, it becomes wisdom, not residue, not pressure, not symptoms. Expression strengthens emotional tolerance, boundaries, connection, trust, and self-respect. Ask yourself this question: what happens inside me when I don't express the truth? I have a little practice I want you to try. This week, say one simple emotional truth. I felt hurt when. I felt angry when. I felt disrespected when. That's it. Not a lecture, not a courtroom, not a debate. One spoken truth, spoken with steadiness. If needed, you can add, I'm not attacking you, I'm sharing what's true for me. We are practicing emotional clarity here. Now, let's look through the power of three lens. In energy medicine, energy alignment in communication is critical to healing. When we speak emotional truth, energy aligns. When we suppress, energy fragments. Repair brings coherence back into the relational field. In Ayurveda inspired living, steadiness and timing are important concepts. Ayurveda teaches pacing and digestion. Expression is a form of mental and emotional digestion. Timing matters, steadiness matters, and rhythm supports repair. In herbal wisdom, the nervous system requires support. Repair requires regulation. Regulation is supported physically. Gentle nerve vines like lemon balm, tulsi, oat straw, chamomile can support steadiness so return is possible. We integrate the emotional, energetic, and physical through the power of three. Now, my friends, it is time for our 5 reflection journal questions. If you have not started journaling, please do 1 day a week at least, consistently for 10 minutes. Question 1, ask yourself this: where do I avoid repair and why? Number 2, what emotional truth is currently unspoken in me? Number 3, what does safe expression look like for me? Number 4, where can I practice imperfect return this week? And number 5, what relationship needs emotional clarity, even in a small way? Remember, when you journal, it's not perfectly, it's just honestly. Tonight, my friends, we learned emotion does not require perfection to express. We learned repair builds trust because return builds safety. We learned imperfect return is healing. Silence often extends rupture. We learned willingness builds safety over time, even without readiness. And we learned expression strengthens capacity and deepens connection. This, my friends, is integration, not perfect behavior. It's the ability to return. We are building emotional steadiness here, not just insight. We are looking for and informing integration. On YouTube, we build the foundation. Inside Patreon, we deepen integration with weekly masterclasses, guided emotional practices, bi-weekly meditation sessions, monthly healing sessions, ongoing personalized support. If you are ready to build the skill of repair and return slowly, safely, and consistently, I invite you to join us inside Evolve Global 22's Healing Circle on Patreon. The link is in the description and in the first comment. And whether you join or not, we are building something steady here. Peace, love, and light, my friends. I love every single one of you. I wish you the best, most blessed, safest, joyous weekend ahead. I love you all. Have a great weekend ahead, and I will see you in the circle on Monday.